The world we live in contains many different biomes and habitats, in which many different species live within. Today I will be talking about biomes, UK habitats, and bees.
I'm Christy Abbott, and this is According to All Known Laws of Aviation. Rainforests.
They typically lie around the equator and are characterised by being very hot and rainy all of the time.
Full temperatures being between 21 to 30 degrees Celsius and having 1,750 millilitres to 3,000 millilitres average rainfall. Because of the excessive rainfall, they have very poor soils due to leaching. However, they're the most biodiverse ecosystems, with around 40 to 75% of all biotic species native to them. But they're also the most threatened. Savannas.
Savannas are 5 to 15 degrees north and south of the equator, but they are characterised by unbroken grasslands.
Savannas are typically seen as rather sparse areas, but they can actually contain a dense bustle of trees, providing there are gaps in the canopy layer for shrub to grow.
They will typically have 800 to 3,300 trees per hectare, but they're also very prone to wildfires.
Tundras and deserts. Contrary to popular belief, deserts are not characterised by being hot areas. In fact, they are characterised by the amount of rainfall that occurs, this being 250 millimetres of precipitation a year. Not many plants are able to grow here. Tundras are typically cold areas where rainfall ranges from 150 to 250 millimetres.
In tundras, temperatures raise from minus 40 degrees Celsius to 18 degrees Celsius, which means there's a permanent layer of permafrost underneath the ground, constantly.
They do have warm-ish summers, but for 6 to 10 months of the year, the temperature is below 10 degrees. Polar
biomes are characterised by being 10 degrees or less all year round.
Polar biomes lack warm summers and instead have undefined seasons, a permanent layer of ice on the ground at all times. Temperate grassland. These rather basic areas are found everywhere except Antarctica.
They're characterised by being basically all grass. Trees can grow here, but typically only by streams, and they only have 500 to 900 millimetres of rain. The grass grows in accordance with how much rain there is, and another reason why there are so little trees is because of all the grazing that typically happens on these areas. They're good for keeping cows and sheep.
With warm summers and very cold winters, the grasses die back to their roots and grow again each year. Deciduous forests are rich woodlands with trees that lose their leaves. Deciduous forests have very defined seasons, with leaves changing colour in autumn, falling off in winter and growing back in spring. These trees have adapted to the changing temperatures that occur here. Coniferous forests.
Coniferous forests are recognised by their cone and needle-bearing trees.
Coniferous forests have their well-defined seasons with long cold winters and warm humid summers. The temperature ranges similarly to tundras, being minus 40 to 20 degrees Celsius, but instead with rainfall ranging from 300 to 900 millimetres per year. A hill is classed as a mountain if it reaches 300 metres above sea level, and
for every 1,000 metres you go up a mountain, it decreases by 10 degrees. And as the temperatures are so cold at the top of the mountain, that there's really not much vegetation. There is some which is adapted to the area, but apart from that, there really isn't many.
UK habitats. Coastland. This regards anywhere where the land meets the sea.
It will grow or shrink depending on the transference of sediment along the coastline. If it moves along, it will decrease one area but increase another area further on. And if you try to stop it, you could make one area worse than it was before, or better than it was before. It's a hard thing to do.
Farmland. Although not natural areas, farmland still holds specific wildlife that would be helpless without human intervention for 6,500 years of farming. However, 60% of these species are in decline due to new chemical and non-natural farming practices. Freshwater. Freshwater including streams, rivers, lakes, reservoirs, fish ponds, mill ponds and canals. They were either formed by glacial formation, streams and rivers, most lakes. Human creation, reservoirs, some fish ponds and canals, and other lakes or ponds were created by fresh water being trapped by coastal sediment. Grassland.
Grasslands in the UK, not specifically the whole world, have had human intervention for 6,000 years. And there's more and more grasslands occurring due to humans not allowing succession to occur. Not allowing more woodlands to be made, but instead just making more grasslands.
Heathland and moorland.
Heathlands are completely unintentionally man-made habitats, starting 5,000 years ago.
When people began cutting trees and scraping the topsoil for their own personal use, adding animal grazing too. However, though the biodiverse habitats came into existence due to human intervention, flourishing with heathers, over the past 150 years, 85% of this land has been lost. Marine, consisting of rock pools, home for little crustaceans and starfish to corals housing fish for commercial farming, marine environments cover a very large expanse. However, due to over-exploitation of fish stocks, sewage discharge, oil spills, nutrient runoff, dredging, mobile fishing gear, boat anchoring and coastal development disturbance affecting the ocean, it's not too good out there. Rocky. On the flip side of the rock. Hey, I don't even realize I did that. These rocky areas are the most natural and untouched areas because no one has any particular need to work on this land. Aside from rock harvesting, like for ornaments, there is a diverse range of UK geology here, and plants only really form in cracks or on cliff edges. There's little soil due to lack of wind, and so climbers are advised to not move any vegetation. Wetlands. This rain-drenched land, often with peat soil, is a great habitat for birds. Peat soil is rather miraculous in its way to soak up water so it manages to regulate river flow, reduce flood risk, and even filter water when the pollutants get stuck in the soil. However, as peat is so useful, people often extract it for usage. So if you're going to a garden centre, ask for peat-free compost and plants grown peat-free. Peat freedom. Woodlands. Woodlands are typically self-explanatory. They're great for recreation and people have been using them since after the first ice age. Towns and gardens. These habitats are typically made for human recreation, so people can have a place to unwind and relax. They help with physical and mental health. On the wildlife side of things, even the smallest plant pot on a windowsill can help an insect survive in a concrete jungle. Grass snakes, foxes and owls sometimes roam these areas, especially foxes who have found their niche here. Energy flows. Energy flows refers to the flow of energy between animals along the food chains. This starts off with the producers, the plants, who take in sunlight. Carbon dioxide and water rearrange it to create adenosine triphosphate through respiration. Primary consumers will eat the plant and will do so to gain the energy from it. They will do this to restore its own energy depletion, which would have been lost through body heat and feces. Cold and warm-blooded animals need to eat different amounts as they lose body heat differently. Warm-blooded animals will lose more heat and will therefore have to eat more. The secondary consumer will come along and eat the primary consumers, taking in the energy they use to grow and store things, but they could not take in the energy the prey regulated their body temperature and respired by. The energy they did receive will be used in the same way for the primary consumers, creating ATP, and naturally some of this energy will be lost. Tertiary consumers, foxes, will, similarly to the secondary consumers, receive some but not all of the energy, and some will be lost. As you get higher up the food chain, the amount of energy from each consumer decreases, as some of it is used and lost. So the more a consumer will have to eat, the higher up they are on the food chain. Finally, it ends with decomposition, where the decomposers break down the organic matter of the consumers, releasing it into the soil for the next producer to use.